Welcome to the show, Riley.
Hi.
So excited to talk to you today. Broken Play is your debut novel, which I have read. What made you want to become an author?
So honestly, I have been very creative basically my whole life. Most of it was based around music, and so I used to write a lot of songs and do all that. But even in like high school, in my English class, my favorite parts were always when we would get fictional writing assignments, and it was just so fun and just a fun way to express myself. Like I had a lot of pent up trauma from the past, and so I was like, oh, this is such an easy and like safe way to get that out. And so I really think that's what drove it from the get go. And then being so involved in the author services side for the last 3 years and just seeing how much the book space as a whole has shifted and changed. And I just really was like, wait, what if I actually tried this? Like, what if I actually take this idea that I had literally in 2013 and just turned it into a book? And so I guess that would be, I guess, just the way to express myself. I really wanted an avenue for that. And so I was like, why not? Let's just try it out.
So why did you decide like romance was the genre you wanted to write in?
I absolutely love for one. I love. And I love like the butterflies. And like when you're writing it, I feel like you get to fall in love all over again through your characters. And it's just so fun. And it just makes me so happy. And honestly, romance as a whole has just really impacted me so much. I found it again in 2021 when I had a little baby, and instead of Amazon scrolling and buying, I scrolled across Facebook one day and one of my friends had posted this book series. She's like, "You can read it on Kindle Unlimited." I'm like, "What in the world is Kindle Unlimited?" I hadn't read in years. And I downloaded it, and one thing led to another, and I became a head like diving headfirst into the romance world and just binged so many books, and it was just such a freeing moment, and it was almost like a healthy escape, honestly, because I was dealing with like postpartum anxiety and depression and all that, and it just really brought me out of that dark place and gave me a purpose again and like feeling alive outside of just being a mom.
I
So
think
that's I
this
love it.
I would say I think that's such a common answer for so many women is a lot of us read a lot in like elementary school, middle school, high school, and then it's like you go through your 20s and your 30s sometimes and it's like you don't have time to do anything else and then you become a mom and while being a mom is like one of the greatest gifts in the entire world, it's also really freaking hard. It's
Very.
very, very hard. And I think the other thing is you start to become kind of like this new version of yourself. And it's really fun to fall in love with reading again and remember like who you were before you became a mom and had kids and what you love to do. So I know that's been for me, I'm a mom of 4 kids, like that's been a big thing that's helped as well, is just being able to like dive into a different world that is not everything I deal with 24/7.
Exactly.
So I know you're an indie author, and we are huge fans of indie authors in this space. What do you enjoy most about it?
I love being in control of my own works. Like I don't have someone being like, "Oh, hey, you can't write this," or "Hey, you can't write this. You need to include this." I love being able to set my own release schedule and just owning all of the rights to my own work, basically. Like I obviously like it would be cool to be traditionally published in some aspects, but for me, I really like being in control and having all I hold all the cards in terms of my success or my failure. So that's kind of how I view that.
What do you think is the most difficult aspect of it?
Ooh, for me, I would say like out of the whole process, the editing process of the book is probably the most difficult for me. The with Broken Play, I first got my edits back and I was like, "Oh, this is not good. What do you mean you don't like it?" So like learning to deal with that, and obviously it gets easier as you go, I think. But for me, that's the hardest part. I love the marketing aspect, and I know for most authors it's the polar opposite. I love writing it and I love marketing it. I don't like the in-betweens of getting from the writing part to the release part.
The more like I feel like it's more the administrative portion because like the writing part is like the creative hard part, and then like the editing is so necessary, but it's also like so tedious, and
Yes.
sometimes it can be fun, but sometimes it's also like I don't know how else to say this sentence. I have no other ideas. I know you don't
Yeah.
like it, but I don't know what else to do here.
Yep, a thesaurus and Google is my best friend. Like, for real. I cannot tell you how many times I've had to Google different ways to say dangerous, different ways to say beautiful, different ways to say, like, you just have to, like, it's so hard sometimes. And then the times that you need your brain to work the best, it's just like gone. Like, where are
Yes.
my thoughts? Where are my words?
Yeah, I often say like, come on, brain, think of things, because there are times where like your brain cannot think of any things or anything that's good, maybe it's the
Yeah,
correct thing.
exactly.
Well, and I think sometimes too, like as people who are creative, like we kind of obsess over a lot of like the small details, like how many times a word is being used, or is this the right tone? And the average person probably doesn't even notice it. But for us, it's a very big deal because you are, I think, every time you publish a book, putting a little piece of yourself out there for
Yeah,
everyone
for
to
sure.
judge.
For sure. Yes, absolutely.
So your book has been out for a little bit. It launched what earlier this summer, a couple months ago. And what has that release process been like? And the first kind of like few months post release for you?
Yeah, so it's been out 2 months now, and we originally like had this plan, and I was releasing under a pen name for multiple different reasons. There was a bunch of stuff offline that I needed to protect it from, and then just like I don't know, you feel like this sense of security just releasing something, especially your first one, without attaching your face to it. Especially in my case, like having a little following and stuff. Like for me, I was like, okay, I want a pen name for sure, and that. Didn't go as planned, but it's okay. It worked out in the end. It's been insane. I had goals and expectations. I'm very much an overachiever. I love big goals. I love crushing those goals. And so I had like these like realistic goals, and then I had pretty big stretch goals. And I've we've literally hit every single stretch goal that I had, which is just absolutely wild. And the feedback has been insane. It's quite funny. I love it. It's weird being on this side of it because like as a reader, you're like, "Oh my gosh, when's the next book coming out?" And then as an author, you're like, "I need you to calm down." Like, you're like,
Right?
"Hold your horses." Um it's literally
Like
been the best thing
so
ever.
happy
It's
that
been
you
so
were
fun.
so excited and you love this book, but also
Yeah.
like you just read it. Can I have a
Yeah.
minute?
I feel so bad for some of the times that I've reached out to authors now. I'm just like, "I'm sorry."
I know. I try and always like catch it with like, I'm so excited for the next book. Can't wait to have it. Also want to respect your mental health and take as much time as you want, but just so you know, as soon as you release it, I will devour it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it takes you weeks or months or whatever. Like I know everyone has a different writing pace, but like for me, it takes me a few weeks to write the first draft, right? And I'm just sitting here like, okay. And I know I'm like, not everyone writes at the same pace. And so I'm just sitting here like, if people read these books in like 1 or 2 days and it takes us this long, what in the world? Like, it just puts a whole new perspective on being a reader in that space.
It really does. So I know you've been super successful, and I know you've been sharing some of like your Kindle Unlimited read numbers on social. What do you think has contributed to that success? Because I would tell you, like just comparatively, you're having phenomenal success for a debut author in this space. So I know there's not like everyone wants like what is that one magical like easy button which doesn't exist. But what do you think has worked so well for you in this story specifically?
I did a lot of market research before I even like decided to go full on and write. And then I also did market research for the cover. I was like, okay, I know this is the right cover, but I also decided to make it a little bit different than most out there. Just in terms of the color schemes. Like you normally don't see dark colors on a contemporary romance. And especially one that's not leaning towards the dark side of romance, right? But I was like, you know what? No, I want darker colors because I want angst, I want emotion, and I want that. And so just taking your market research and looking at it with both eyes. I know that doesn't make quite sense, but what I mean by that is like on one side, you're like, okay, what is it that I want? But over here, it's like, what are readers wanting? Right. And you have to kind of meet in the middle because you might love something but readers aren't going to, if that makes sense. Like when I was first writing Broken Play, I honestly almost made it closed door. And I was just so not doing it from the right space in terms of trying to write the steam and the spice. It was hard for me, like very, very hard. I actually had an author friend help me walk me through it because I was like, dude, I spent 4 weeks writing the book and I spent 2 weeks stuck on one spice scene. Like, it was really hard for me. Just with my past, it was very, very hard. And that is one thing I'm like, okay, if I make this closed door, I don't think that I will be able to hit my goals. And I'm not saying that every book has to have steam and spice in it. I'm just saying for what I wanted to portray and accomplish, I wanted that to be part of their relationship. And it adds a lot of layers into it without giving too much away. It adds a lot of layers. And the number one thing I will say is consistency will always pay off. You have to know how to pull the right content from your book, and I know a lot of people, once again, rely on the spice to market their books, which is fine. Like, do that. It sells books. But the other side of that is finding the ones that will connect with readers emotionally. If you can make your readers or whoever's scrolling TikTok, I mainly use TikTok. I've done all of this organically and I've just used TikTok for it. I love TikTok so much. I know it's like the most toxic relationship you will ever have is with TikTok because some days it gives you good views and some days it gives you one. So like, you never know there. But if I could just say one thing, like consistency over time pays off, but you have to have the right content in order for it to pay off. You have to make your readers feel something to snag them in.
No, completely agree. Is there anything you would have done differently?
I would have loved if my identity could have stayed differently, like hidden. If that could have stayed where it was, it would have just given me a lot more confidence and freedom, I think. But like I said, it's okay. At the end of the day, it is what it is, and we can't go back and change that now. One thing I would do differently is stay far, far, far away from socials on release day or like right after. And I mean like the tags. Like being on social media is fine, but I still work in author services a little bit for the for the last 2 months I did anyways. And so like I was on their accounts and I would see reviews pop up of my book. And me being me, I'm a little bit nosy, so I'm like, oh, let me just go. Oh, okay, that's valid, but thank you. you know like just
But
staying
also,
away from those. Yeah. And just not letting it affect you. Like everyone's going to have a different opinion. But for like the first couple weeks, I did let a lot of like the nitpickier reviews kind of get to me. And I'm like, oh, I could have done this. I could have done that. And then finally a realization, I was on a call with one of my business coaches, I guess you would say. And she's like, okay, but you could go read a book and you would have a completely different opinion than someone else. I'm like, you're so right. Like, why am I doing that? Like, this book isn't for everyone, but it's for anyone. So, I mean, that's one thing that I would tell new authors is stay far, far away and don't count on your friend, like people that you call quote unquote friends. Do not like think that they're required to give you support, especially coming from like the influencer side slash author services to the author side. It's a weird limbo space to be in. So just preparing mentally for that.
so how would you describe Broken Play in 10 words or less?
Angsty, he falls first, boyfriend goals. How many is that? Like seven. um, Hopefully it'll make you cry. It's a little swoony. It'll break your heart, but then put it back together.
I would say that's very accurate.
yeah.
Very much so. So I know you mentioned like you first had this idea in what, 2013?
Yes.
So where did that come from? Like, did you just wake up one morning and go, I want, like, I have these characters in my mind, I can't get this out?
Kind of. I was in a hotel room in Nashville, Tennessee, and my grandparents had taken me there because it's been like my dream to go to Nashville, especially as like a younger songwriter or singer or whatever. And I had just finished writing some songs, and we had gone to the Ryman, and I had recorded a couple, and then we got back to the hotel, and I was like, huh, football, football romance. That'd be kind of cool because I was big into Wattpad back then. I loved reading fan fiction on Wattpad. And so I was like, ooh. So like take High School Musical minus the music and then put it in football instead. And so I was just started writing, and it was originally set in high school. I had Jake Riley and I had Chloe Banks or something like that. The names did not stay, obviously, and it was in high school. And then I was listening to a song on the radio in late February of this year, and it was Love You, Miss You, Mean It by Luke Bryan. And I was like, wait a second, wait a second. And that is where Broken Play came from.
So the idea started a long time ago, but it sounds like it only took you a couple of months to get from the sheer idea, probably writing it really for the first time in publication.
Yeah.
That's fast.
Yeah. I can't. people keep asking me, like, how do you do that? And I'm like, I don't know how to explain how my brain works, but if I hear a song, and it's been this way for years, but especially now that I've swapped my brain into thinking, like, ooh, how could I write this? If I hear a song, it will trigger a scene. But like that Luke Bryan song triggered that entire book because I could not in my brain figure out how we got from the beginning to the end where they used to be friends and like then they didn't talk for a long time. But then I heard that song and I was like, because she calls him so much time later and I'm just like, that's it.
And that's kind of sometimes all you need is that spark, right? And
Yeah.
it's so unexpected, but it's also so realistic. Because I
Hmm.
think, many people can relate to maybe having one too many beverages and calling someone they wouldn't have intended to call when they were maybe fully with it and sober.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, so there are a ton of tropes in here. We got like friends to lovers, there's like a second chance vibe. So, one of the things that's really interesting is that obviously we know that Jackson and Madison were friends growing up, and there was definitely some interest on both parts, but they never crossed that line before college. Why was that important to you for them to kind of just only be friends?
I would say that it was really important for me because I didn't want the relationship. I didn't want it to be fully second chance. I don't really love reading second chance 90% of the time, and it has to be done so, so well, in my opinion. And I didn't want it to be like, okay, they're together, she's kind of using him for comfort, and then she freaks out and is like, oh yeah, no, go, goes and like sees all these other guys, and then comes back and is like, okay, yeah, let's give it another try. But I just didn't want her to be so unlikable in that aspect because at that point in life, she was going through it. She hadn't healed it all. She was still, the trauma was still so fresh for her. And I feel like that would have just really been almost like an irredeemable arc for her if she had just used him in that aspect and then fast forward and was willing to put in the work. I don't know. It could have gone either way, but for me that's what I was like, I don't want that. Like I want them to be friends. I don't want cuz she's not interested in feeling feelings back then, even then. So, that's how it worked in my brain.
So the book really starts with this voicemail that changes everything for him. So I know she says she doesn't remember leaving it, but does she?
No. I wanted to
No?
make sure she didn't. No. So in the book, that is the anniversary of her mom's death, okay? That is when that happens. And in the book, I was careful with how much I let her drink in terms, but I mean, she's using everything but what she needs to kind of numb the pain. And so, no, I did not want her to remember that at all.
I just was like, is that when I read it, I was like, well, she has to have seen it on her like call history.
Yeah, no, I thought of that too. And I'm like, okay, well, even if she did like see the call, like she's maybe she's called him before in the past too.
Yeah,
So, like,
like she
that was a
doesn't.
trip up for me, especially after I released it. I was like, oh no, oh no. But like, even if she saw it, she would have no idea that she actually left a voicemail. So that was my hopefully saving grace in that aspect.
Well, and all I thought was like, I could also see if she did remember playing it off like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like when you're like so embarrassed by like, oh,
Yeah.
I mean, no, I don't remember. I didn't do that at all. You must have been mistaken. So we see very from the very beginning of the book, he's clearly devoted to her and would do anything for her. And she has a lot of trauma. Obviously, that contributes to it. But why do you think it was so hard for her to even want to give a relationship with him a chance or a relationship with literally anyone a chance at that point in her life?
I think, and this is where I come into my trauma dump pieces because I literally wrote parts of myself into Madison, and this is one of them. Um, you have once you have gone through a loss like she did, and then having the other parent kind of blame you, even though it's not well placed, even though it's misplaced anger and frustration and blame, it can eat your soul a little bit. Like it can truly go down in there, and you're thinking that everything that these people are saying is true. And so for me, I didn't trust anyone. And I'm like, okay, well, if that's what love is, like, no. Even though I had a great example of love standing right in front of me, I was just like, absolutely not. Like you're joking. So for me, that's where that came from. Is that was taking a personal note out of my book and putting it into her.
Do you think, like, obviously she has like that really complicated backstory. What would you say was the your favorite part of her character development through the book?
My favorite part was when she went back for help, because that one also like really rings true for me. And I was actually telling my therapist about this book, and he was like, "Well, how does it resolve?" And I told him, he's like, "You wrote her going back to therapy and working on herself." I'm like, "Yes." He's like, "Well, then I would say like you're on the right track." And so that for me, that was like, "Oh, yes, I did it right." But like once again, that was just taking from my personal experience, and it was something that I wish I had done at that age. And so that's for me, that's where I was like, okay, nope, we're gonna have her go back to therapy. We're gonna have her get back into those good habits and stop self-sabotaging every 5 seconds.
Well, I think a lot of people can relate to that, right? Where we do, especially when you've experienced different kinds of trauma in your life, we do tend to self-sabotage. We do tend to pull that into ourselves and let it consume probably more of our mind, heart, and soul than we should. But I think one of the things that I really enjoyed about your book is all the things that she has to kind of deal with and work through. While he definitely is there for her, he is definitely her biggest advocate, he does help her through it. He does not solve any of her problems. And I
Yeah.
think that is refreshing, especially for women to hear and see. Because oftentimes when you read some romance books, like the main male character, he typically like comes in, saves the day, he fixes all of your problems. And I'm like, she can fix her own problems. I mean, you can help her, but like she can fix her own problems. Like she has to want to make the change herself. And I love that she focused and worked on herself first before like things I think really got serious between the two of them.
Yeah, and that's one thing that you will see as a common thread in all of my books. I really wanted to flip the script on that because 90% of the time we always see the men making these grand gestures or fixing everything, right? But I wanted in my series, it's going to be the women doing the fixing and doing the grand gestures. I just wanted it to be different. And I really think that it shows more strength than like it's great to have a guy fix it. Don't get me wrong. It's great. You know what? It's great. But sometimes it's like, okay, why couldn't she do that herself? Kind of a thing. And so I wanted
Yes.
him to be there supporting her, like you said, but I also wanted her to make the choice to go work on herself for their relationship.
Yep. And for herself. All right. I know you said spicy scenes were hard to write in this book. We do get a few of them. And we also know that like Jackson is definitely more inexperienced than Madison when it comes to sex, which is like the opposite of what we see in almost every romance novel.
Yep.
Um, very much in the opposite. So, why was that so important to you to kind of flip the script on that as well in this book?
I really think this one truly just ties back to how in love with her he's been. Like, this man has never kissed anyone else, right? Which I don't think I made super, super obviously clear. But, anyways, that is for me, I was just like, OMG. Like, that is so, so cute in my mind, anyways. Like, I wanted, so like, they're just polar opposite. He's over here saving himself for her. She's using sex as a way to like numb herself, and so I just wanted to flip the script on that too. I'm like, no, we're going to let her have her fun and we're going to have him over here waiting and pining over here, just waiting for her.
How do you think that influenced like how you wrote spice, but then also like what types of spice you included in the book? Because it does, I think, have to have a different feeling. For me, I love a spicy book, but I love it when it feels like it's accurate for the characters and authentic to where they are and where they are in the relationship. But this like adds another layer to it because you also see, him deal with, I mean, he's a football player. There is locker room talk. There's lots of I'm trying to really hard to
I know.
not
It's
talk about
okay.
some of this stuff, but like it's a different scenario for him where, he has been waiting for so long. He also is very much in love with her, would do anything for her, but also understands that there's kind of like this push and pull. You can't push her too far or she is going to run away. And so how did you think about like at what point um like things got steamy between the two of them, and like when is the right time? Because it is, I think, a little bit more difficult to find that balance. I think you did a great job with it than it would be in a lot of other romance novels where the script is more of what we typically see.
Yeah, so that was one of the main comments from a lot of my early readers. They're like, "Girl, you have not even let them kiss yet. What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm sorry. It'll be worth it. Just be patient." But I wanted it to feel like, and I do think it also makes Jackson look more and more like he has more and more self-control. And then we kind of like over the time period, we kind of see that just like she's just like working on it, just like breaking it down piece by piece. And finally, he's like, okay, like tension snaps. We're done here. But mine, for me, the spice scenes will always, like, especially the main spice scenes will always be more emotionally driven than spice driven, if that makes sense. Just for me, it just feels more authentic to my characters. And especially in this one, like, I do think like he worked really hard on trying to like, wait until she was willing to give him her heart too. But at the same time, he's a 21-year-old guy. Okay. They only have
Yes.
so much restraint and control. So that's for me, that was hard trying to find the right times. But I think it worked well. If it was up to me, it would have been at the very, very end. But everyone was like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, well, I could, but
I
I won't. Yeah.
but I won't.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite like quote or passage from the book and why?
Oh, I love it when she's leaving another voicemail and he comes and he's like, well, that was quite the declaration. I squealed so hard when I wrote that scene. I was beside myself. I love that one. And then I also love when he's just telling her that he's seen her at her worst and still doesn't feel any differently about her. Like he's still absolutely in love with her. And I love that because I feel like it's something, especially obviously in fiction, it's great, but like even in real life, my goal was to show people that that's how you should be treated, right? You should not settle, and someone should see you at your worst and be like, I love you for that too. So that was my intent with that. And I loved, 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 loved writing that scene so much.
So I know we have another book coming actually out this month called Red Zone, which is about Carter, which I literally cannot wait to read because we see hints of what I think is going to happen in this book in Broken Play. And so was I did not send you this message, but I was also like in my mind going, we're going to get another book. When's it going to be? And hopefully it's about Carter. So, what can you tell us about that book? And I know you also have teased a little bit that you might be working on book 3 already.
Yes. So if I ever have like scenes that come to me for other books, I just write them down really quickly. And for some reason, book three just decided to be like, oh, hey, here I am, while I was still writing book two. So I had to take a tiny little pause for a few days and kind of start on book three. But yeah, book two, Red Zone, is coming out on August 28th. And it is Carter and Lila. It is Coach's daughter, forced proximity. And I think probably all of my books will be this way, but of course, he falls first. I am so excited. I have written this book so many different ways. Well, not so many. I think I've wrote it 2 other times, most of it. And it was just not working for me. Like relating back to our other conversation, like spice is hard for me to write. Okay. Spice is hard. And I was like, okay, this is gonna be enemies to lovers. It's gonna be like I hate you, and like it's gonna be like spicy, and they're just gonna like go at it. And I'm like, I do not like this. So I deleted it. And I kind of just had to like sit with myself for a few days. I started this literally like 2 days after I submitted Broken Play. And I was like, okay, why isn't this connecting for me? And I was finally like, we're just going to scroll through my playlist, see what we can come up with. And I decided to do kind of like a character dump, just like adding every single little thing about them into this document. And I was like, okay, let's start this again. And from there, it just kind of flowed much better for me until my characters decided to go bamboozling me again. And so I literally, at this point, I give up on plotting. I give up on any of that. I will be a pantser or whatever you call that. And I just kind of have to let them take the lead. The first 10 to 20K words, I have no idea what's going on most of the time. And then at that point, they just kind of lead the way, if that makes sense.
Yep,
Yeah,
it
I love
does.
it though. My early readers are like, they've read Broken Play too, and they're like, okay, I liked Jackson. I liked him. but I'm gonna tattoo Carter Hayes on my forehead. I was like, oh, okay, well,
Shit. Now
I
I can't
haven't,
wait to read
I
this
did
even
not
more.
expect that. I did not expect that at all. I was like, okay, there's no way I can top Broken Play. And then all of a sudden, all these people are coming back. They're like, oh my God. I'm like, well, I guess that's great.
But it also, I feel like, sets the bar then for whoever is the main character in book 3.
I know, I know. People are guessing for book 3, and it is pretty obvious, hopefully, at the end. I didn't know which character would be book 3, to be completely honest. And so I wrote Red Zone, and then I was like, okay, okay, I see where we're going here. I see where we're going. So yeah, book 3 and book 4 have also just, they're both started, but yeah,
Are you
I
gonna
don't know.
are you gonna try and turn them around as quickly as you did for this one, or are you going to take a little bit more space?
So my goal is to finish the first draft of book 3 before the end of September. And
That's wicked fast.
I know. But my thing is I hyperfixate really bad. And once I'm hyperfixated on something, I can't stop until it's completed. But I am setting word count like limits. I know, and I know this will change during my author career, but right now I'm writing too many words in one day and it's causing my like fingers to already start like getting stiff and stuff, and I have a really bad wrist. But for me right now, I am trying to write as quickly as I can. Just because offline, there's a bunch of stuff in my life that's going to change very soon. And I don't know if I'll be able to write for a little while after that. And so that's just been my priority and why I've kind of like shifted my workload around and just set really tight deadlines for myself. But I work best under pressure. And so that's what I've kind of done for myself in that regard. But yeah, there will be another book before the end of the year released.
Thanks for listening to Late Night Reads. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Late Night Reads Podcast. And check out latenightreads.com for even more information about all the books we're reading. If you loved today's episode, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. And share the show with your fellow book lovers.